Okay, we move now to our fourth discussion for today. So we want to explore the Nigerian democracy, looking at the matter arising from the political landscape. And to help us shape the conversation this morning is a social commentator and a political analyst, Mr. Henry Olonimoyo. He's here with us in the studio. Good morning, Mr. Henry.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Good morning also. Good morning, Nigerians.
Okay.
All right, let's look at the political landscape in Nigeria. Nigeria's democracy, quite a number of matters associated with our democracy. In this country, the form of democracy we practice. Just last week at our 50th anniversary, there was still some talks around this democracy, constitutionalism, and if it actually suits us, the kind of system of government that we practice. And there the chief speaker, Professor Femi Mimiko, even suggested that it seems it would be better if we returned to the parliamentary system of government and all of that. And you were there, yes, and the argument continued. Maybe we should even start from that. Yes, your own take on that.
Yes, it was a fantastic lecture delivered by Professor Femi Mimiko. I mean that's what he does best now. He's professor of I think political science, if I'm correct.
Yes.
So, but you see, there was a question that was raised that day, or a question or a comment that was raised that day, and the person went like this. He said, I'm just paraphrasing it. He said, do we have a system of, a governance system problem, or a personnel problem that is having the right people to run it? And I've always asked myself that we have seen countries in the world thrive on different kinds of system governance. We have seen monarchies thrive. You look at UAE, for instance. They are not exactly like a democracy. They have an hybrid kind of democratic system. They have king, they have princes, but they also have some kind of legislature also. But the world today is gravitating towards those places. We have also seen military juntas in history that have done well by their people. China today has been on the rise for 2 decades now, and they are operating communism. It's just one party state.
Personally, I love that system of government in China. It's delivering
it's delivering the goodies. So
and the way they are
exactly, and they already have that succession plan and the rest. But you see that there's a central plan. So, and we've also seen democracy that of course the American system of democracy that we subscribe to. We have seen, but we need to ask ourselves, if President Mimiko said, the parliamentary was fantastic, was the best since sliced bread. By the time the military struck in 1966, you need to go and read the speech they gave about what was prevalent in the government at that time.
Parliament.
They accused the parliament of gross corruption. In fact, there was a call it, I think there's this one called maybe 50% or 70 or something percent rule. That is, for every contract there's a percentage that must. He accused. There were ministers. The minister of finance at that time was grossly accused of corruption, of flamboyance and the rest. So the question we need to ask is, irrespective of the system of governance, the quality of personalities handling this system today, if you go to parliamentary today, there will be serious problem for the country, and I'll explain why.
Okay, please.
The parliamentary system is also a system that needs to be handled by highly cerebral people. Have you seen in the House of Commons in the UK? Have you seen the way the Prime Minister and even Kemi Badenoch and some of our other colleagues, have you seen the way they interact on issues? How many executive persons today in the country can sit down to be, even in the executive councils, do they even have serious debates about issues?
And do it in a civil way.
Are you sure? Are you sure you can have that? We are talking of a democratic one that we're doing now, where to summon a president is unheard of that House of Assembly will summon the governor. But whereas our law says that the House of Assembly can summon the governor, the National Assembly can summon the president. But Where has it ever happened?
Looking like Mission Impossible.
Where has it ever happened? So if you have a parliamentary again, we bring our Nigerianism into that parliamentary again. So I think we need to also look at the personnel, the quality of persons that get into government.
Even at that, going by our history, parliamentary versus presidential. We started with parliamentary, and if you agree with me, to some extent, it was tending towards promoting regions, and to some extent, it was sowing the seed of ethnic division. If you agree with me,
yes, to some extent.
To some extent, Awolowo developed the west, Nnamdi Azikiwe developed the east, Ahmadu Bello and
the north.
And even part of the accusation then, when the military took over, was that the level of the seed of hatred that the leaders were sowing at that time was one of those things that are responsible for the action.
Okay.
So, do you think indeed we should go back to parliamentary system of government at this level of our existence?
No, I do not think so.
Okay.
I think that we should be looking at the time limit in our governance system. So, and as it stands today, there are geopolitical zones who feel that they have been oppressed, that they have been alienated, and I believe clearly that if we have a rotational presidency system where presidency goes through all the 6 geopolitical zones, where we have a 6-year single term, where once it is going to the southeast, no person from any of the geopolitical zones must contest. The whole country must rally behind candidates from that zone. And then when you are there, there's no second term for you. You just have that 6 years to work with. You see, there will be much more focus on governance. There will be less regional, interregional politics, where one region will be fighting or 2 regions will be ganging up against another region. Everybody knows now that it's going to go our turn soon. Let him do. Then overarchingly, the country must have a national development plan. We don't have these things. So today, if another person comes in today, he starts rolling out his own programs. There is no central plan.
Or they are not running with it.
We don't have. I must say that. One of the things our founding fathers, wrote about it repeatedly, was that the country should have a national blueprint where we want to be in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years. Not just so. I also believe that even states should have these things also, such that whether somebody is coming from another party or from another part of the state or the country, as he comes in, he already has, and that this plan should be a legislative document. Such that that as you are coming into office, there is a minimum kilometer of roads that you must construct. We have to legislate development now. That you are coming in, you cannot do less than 500 kilometers of road within this period. If you have not done it, it's seen that you have failed.
Let's even go back a little further, but let's look at, before we talk about the nations having the blueprints for development. Let's look at where these national leaders emerge, which is the political parties. Many a times we've even brought you here where we talked about parties not having ideologies, not having defined manifestos, people just using them as platforms. To get to their desired positions, we don't want to enable them to be able to maneuver. Today you're in party A and tomorrow you're in party B seamlessly, not having issues with adjustment. So in your own view, what's your view about the impact of this lack in our political parties, the impact on our democracy? So
if you say that we have an ideology problem politically, in our political parties, I want to believe that there is something about our system of governance or our electoral process that rewards all of these things. If somebody wants to emerge and there's a system in place for people to truly choose who will lead them, you will see that when politicians are trying to contest for elections again, everybody will be speaking clearly on where they stand. And because we have seen people crisscrossing very, very, there are some decamping that you can understand why. There are some that you cannot just explain why this is happening. And because the electoral process has found a way to reward these things, so there is no basis for ideology again. I tell you, if a political party comes today and wants to be standing on certain ideology or the rest, the people don't care about. I mean, what's our literacy level now? The people. When you get out there, what do you want to tell somebody about ideology? It's not there to listen to you. People fair contest for. What are you contesting for?
What are you bringing?
How much are you now? What are you bringing to us? So that let's leave all of those things. So we must start from where we are as it is now. Sometimes we pride ourselves that we are very educated and we are literate, but I think it's far from it. We are not as literate as we think we are. In fact, I want to believe that 30-40 years ago the country was more literate than it is now. I can tell you that. I can tell you, if you want to do a very good survey, go around, go to secondary schools, ask them the names of leaders in the country, they will tell you they don't know.
You may not be totally wrong,
because
recently some studies showed that some studies conducted in the US and said that they discovered that children of today, their parents are more intelligent.
No.
They're more educated than them, and that's why most of these countries are even stopping the use of artificial intelligence for learning.
When I served as a core member in Ogun State, one of the schools I was posted, the school I was posted to, there are people who did not know the vice president of the country, who didn't know the president of the country, and they were in the senior secondary school. There are people who cannot, in the southwest, that they can't use a scientific calculator. They can't use a calculator. In the south, I'm not in the southwest. So we overestimate. Go and look at the average young people. They don't know what's NLC. They don't know these things again.
So how do we start from where we are?
So how do you sell ideology to them? So I think we must go back again and go and look at our curriculum again. And go and find how we want to get the right kind of hands, the quality hands, to teach these things as they should. Because if we see today,
as they should.
Because we have a problem of teachers, quality teachers. You know, about over a decade ago, Edo State and Ekiti State did something. Even I think Kaduna did the same thing. They did tests for their teachers. And there was a teacher in Edo State who could not recite the national anthem or something. There are basic things she should know as she was teaching. Ekiti also did the same. There was an outcry. See, you can't say you want to be a teacher. We must look at the level. So now that what I just said is just to tell you that the literacy level in the country is very low, and it's a cause for concern. You have young girls who are holding iPhones, highly sophisticated phones, and they'll be asking you basic things that they can even just search and have answers to.
And they have deep followers online.
And they have followers, they know nothing, next to nothing about their country, about the society, about their obligations and rights. So how can you create as a politician, or that you say you want to sell ideology? They don't understand.
So you believe we should start from the political education?
We need to help our political education in the
Who is going to be responsible for this? Is it the political parties or the government?
The truth is also that there are people in government also who don't want people to be politically literate. That is the truth. Because I see an organized setup where people don't want people to know their left from their right, so that they can keep using it against them. But you see, and that's why for me it's the missing ingredient for leadership in this country, that the people just feel that there is something serious to gain when the country is down, they are up. And they don't know that there is no sense in seeking any individual good in a nation of collective doom. A friend of mine once said that you say your life is good, but the whole country is down. It's a threat to you. And that's why today you see massive migration from the country to other places now. So we must have sincere leaders. So today, if you look at the world today, you can accuse Donald Trump of many things. You cannot accuse him of being patriotic or fighting for America's interests. You can accuse some other world leaders of many things. But when it comes to fighting for the interests of their country, you can't fault them on that. If you bring it back to our country, you can't say the same for us.
Okay, Mr. Henry, because of our time, let's move to the Electoral Act amendment.
Yeah.
You know, it has been passed into law, assented by the President. And so do you think, indeed, the amendments in the Electoral Act will definitely trickle down to credible elections in Nigeria? Going by the content in terms of what things that have been changed, are we working towards credible election in 2027?
So, we have found a way to pretend as if we're taking a forward motion and then oscillating backwards again.
3 times.
Is that the case?
It looked like wanted to take forward motion, but again, we just got that it was not before, it was an oscillation. We just came back, and if you look at what we are presented, there's only a very slight difference between what we have now and what we used in 2022, in the sense that what we have now is saying, yes, has mentioned the word electronic transmission, but has also now put a proviso now that, see, where there is communication failure, it's no longer mandatory.
Discretional.
Just use your discretion. And that, for me, and if you look at the way we practice our judiciary in this country, I say it anyway. I'm not a lawyer, but when I see my lawyer friends, I used to tell them, I say, see, the way you people have complicated Nigeria's law system, it appears that for every case, especially political cases, it can go either way, depending on who is involved or who's. And I said, that's why I cannot understand why. Because you see, people gave judgment in the post-2023 election last year and said, see, the law does not mandate INEC to electronically transmit results. Mind you, INEC was everywhere around the country, even in the UK. They went to Chatham House to say that they will transmit they did electoral guideline books for the ad hoc staff. I had a copy of it, where they told them how to electronically transmit results. That same constitution law says that INEC will have the power to decide the guidelines around any election. But a judge came out to say the INEC guidelines does not carry weight, especially when it comes to the constitution. That's so, and that's why today now, people have now said, let's go and get a law that spells it in ABC that INEC must electronically transmit, which for me is not really necessary. One would have expected that when a judge is trying to deliver a judgment, he's looking at what is the intention for the law, and he's looking at what will protect the democracy. But today, it's like, whenever we finish an election now, some people will sit down and see what loophole can we use to draw back our democracy. And that's what they are doing. And that's why today now, with that proviso, anybody can say, I could not transmit electoral results because there was no network.
Well, the INEC chairman, Amopito, has promised that yesterday at the town hall meeting that he's promising that there will be electronic transmission of results, but it's not promising that all will be in real time. They're going to do it, but the real-time phrase, I think remains the contention.
You see, real-time has also been a major controversial issue, and I've had people say, oh, well, we can't say real-time. Real-time is controversial because real-time means immediately. But again, let's try to understand the context of real-time that we are trying to say, because we must look at this things relatively. When we say real-time, we are not saying there are cases where it will come in almost immediately. But real time, there are cases where it will come in before they start manipulation at another level. Because what we are trying to fight is, we want a situation where the public can see the results before they start manipulation, so that there will be no abracadabra from the manipulation that will affect original results. But now they are fought it, no real time, we can't do real time. So what it means now, if you say you can't tell us real time, it means that you can delay the uploading of results for 5 hours, 6 hours, and it will have defeated the purpose for real-time transmission of electoral results.
Left to you, how would you want that real-time, defined? Right. Because as Alex and I, before you came in, we're like, oh, when you talk about real-time, we can't look away from the inadequacies we have in terms of technological means of doing a real-time transmission. Really, there are times even on your phone you want to send money to someone and the thing keeps dangling and dangling. So in this instance, now what time frame would you say forms reasonable real time?
I don't buy some of these things that these people say, and you must not be carried away by that. Just because there is an exception where once in a while you do a transfer and for some things it didn't go through, or it went through but the person did not get a notification maybe until the next day, what percentage, do you know how many transfers are happening on a daily basis? Maybe you say out of maybe millions of transfers, maybe you have 10 or 15 or 20 cases like that. You know, there's a time when the usual banks, the traditional banks, were sluggishing on that, and then all of these apps came up, and then they were beating them at their game. Now all of them are trying to afford. That means that if we want these things to work, it can actually work. Well, real time can actually be real time, and let me explain how. What we want to transfer, it's not a sizable, it's not a very volume, it's not volume, it doesn't have that much volume. A 2G can do what we want to do. Just like where we can send SMS from our phones today, and you're almost certain that within 5 minutes it will get to where it's going to. Real time, if we want to define it, it can happen within an hour. Within an hour. Now, if there are communication failures, let it be that there are certain areas. Again, let me also say this. What stops the government?
You said 2G.
Yes.
Because the transmission of results, I believe it's talking about the document.
Yes.
The result sheet,
yes,
scanned and uploaded.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Can 2G technology?
It can.
Sufficient to do that.
Yes. So this is what Beavers does. Okay. It's just like this. The gadgets in front of you.
Because we have to also
as soon as Beavers snaps it.
Okay.
It's in a picture format.
Okay.
And in that picture format, like a scanned document, it sends it that way. The things is less than a megabyte, than 1 megabyte. It's in kilobytes. What I'm talking about. So, and in fact, the Beavers has a makeup where if where you are, the network is not okay, it will go into offline mode. As soon as you are taking the Beavers into an area where there is network, it's gone. So that means that once it has been sent, whether there's no network, it will still move. You cannot tamper with what you have sent. Once you enter into a place network, it will work. Then again, are we saying that the government cannot have a collaboration with all the telecom network and say provide us special network
but don't forget
for the day of election?
Because we know as
it is, PS is working everywhere. Now, what we have done now, and if you know the way our politicians think, I'm also a politician in a way, but see, if you know the way they think, what happens now is you will not be surprised next year, God sparing our lives, that there will be sabotage of network. And once there's a sabotage, what happens? And you and I know it can be sabotaged. It can.
So, just like
so this election will go on as it is.
Just like that musician said that, which way Nigeria? So I'm asking you, Mr. Olonimoyo, which way Nigeria?
No, so for me,
for our democracy,
I have said we have seen people who have lived their life with greed and the rest, and at the end of their lives also they didn't take anything along.
Sure.
I have said that if I am one of the few voices, there must be people who will say, see, let's be reasonable, let's build a country that works. Because you see, today, where the world is today, everybody is building their country. And today, I spoke with one Nigerian who traveled out of the country in the course of the end of last year, and was complaining bitterly that if not because of what is that, there's nothing he's doing in this place. There's no reason why he should be in this country. Very soon, the countries that are building their countries will soon start pushing back immigrants who have not been able to build their own country. So, as some people are trying to pull back democracy for their own personal reasons, the bulk of us also who want the country to work must also be pushing. That's what I have to say.
I like that.
Before we wrap up the okay, maybe you should go ahead. Okay.
Yes, talking about the bulk of people who wants the country forward, really have to do something. Maybe family starts by giving political education, to their children will help, and telling them, we have civic education in schools, but it just seems as if children just read to pass, but not necessarily imbibing the knowledge there. Maybe we should have a means of making sure that it's an intrinsic, knowledge.
At the family level, yes, only when you have a father or a mother that really has that idea about that. Today, how many parents have that? Well, the media can also help in it also.
The media can help.
The media can help to push out these things, to have programs that educate people. Oh, you want to talk about citizenship, and then we just call people to define. We can have symposiums, workshops, seminars that educate people along this line. We can cascade it to the rural and deliver it in local languages. We need to do it aggressively.
We did the available.
Because you see,
one thing is availability.
Yes, because
you may have the good intention of trying to give people the right to education. But if they are not interested, so what do you do?
No, government can always do it.
Their interest is somewhere else.
You know one thing about democracy is the moment people start getting poorer as far as their knowledge on politics, on governance, democracy will begin to shrink and may eventually die. So if you are not careful, just like you have in some parts of Africa where people celebrate when the military take over, because some of them don't have sufficient knowledge of what a military junta is. We are getting to that point where people are already losing touch with democracy.
Absolutely.
So if we want democracy to grow, to thrive, to be robust, there must be massive literacy.
Okay, speaking of democracy, one of the key elements of democracy is opposition, right?
Yes.
Now, coalition is growing, is booming, and 2027 is around the corner.
Maybe.
The coalition we have now, do you think is formidable enough to push out the ruling party in 2027?
It is in a way, but it depends on, because the bulk of Nigerians have put their fingers crossed, waiting for what they come out with. Because if you say you are an opposition that want to rival what we have on ground, then what you are profiling must be better than what we presently have. That's what opposition should do everywhere in the world. They should present better alternatives.
Okay. Is it what they come out with or who they come out with?
Yes, that's it. Okay. Because when you say what, it's a joint ticket. So we want to see. Now just want to see and whether it makes sense to the sense of justice of Nigerians.
But apart from the ideology, what about the political capacity in terms of creating structures cut across regions? Do they have the block to
now let me tell you plainly, when we talk of structure, the bulk of what we call structure today is just buying people. That's what you call structure. Ideally, what we'll have called structure is that you have people who are actively working for your party across board, and I think this opposition can have that.
Okay.
But clearly, as it stands today, structure or no structure, if you look at the last 2023 election, Peter Obi had no governor, no senator. He had 6 million votes. I don't know how many governors that PDP had, but you also saw Atiku Abubakar had 6.something million votes also. So for me, it's not about structure. It's clearly about people. But where the structure will come is if they should have polling unit agents across the nation. Are they formidable enough? They can be, depending on the ticket they come out with. Because again, this country, we believe that the turn is for the south, and it makes a lot of sense that if the opposition wants to really get the people, they must be producing a presidential ticket that reflects that power should still retain in the south.
Okay, that's
what makes sense.
Sorry, be that as it may. Tinubu's economic reform is gaining popularity even from the international community.
Okay.
And to some extent, the exchange rate, the fuel subsidy removal, and are you sure indeed opposition can find a way to neutralize this? Also, we can also just oppose it with the security escalation in the country. What's your take on that?
Yeah, if you look at the economic policies of Mr. President, see, I have my fingers largely crossed like this. See, let me tell you something. What this government met on ground, they are here to bring us back to that point. So there's no way we can applaud them. If they met dollar at a certain rate, they met inflation at a certain rate, and it skyrocketed. Bringing it halfway does not mean that they have done enough yet.
But they are doing something.
Everybody can say they are doing something. Every government has done something. We are saying, and I have an inkling into what's happening in agriculture. I farm, so I can give you an example of what is happening in farming.
Okay.
As it stands today, it appears as if all of the gains that the country has made in terms of internal food production has been has been drained. As it stands today, as I speak with you, all farm produces have all crashed.
Crashed
Completely. Food prices,
sales, or
the prices has crashed. Somebody say that's good news. That's good news. No, but wait a minute. It's not good news. You see, in those days when we are doing our school, our mathematics and problem, they usually have answers at the back. So we go and check the back and check the answer, and then we'll now be working towards that answer with whatever any formula, whatever. We know that now it appears that we're doing something now. There is no economic policy that can explain why the input for farming is high, the labor is high, but the final product has gone. In the last 7 years, things have crashed so much now that if you go and do a survey, I push it out. How many farmers are going to farm what they farmed last year, or the volume they farmed last year? Go and do a survey around the country.
Or are farmers subsidized somehow?
So no, because we have opened. The country is doing massive importation now.
Oh.
That is what is sabotaging local production. And that country, those countries you are bringing those things from, somebody is subsidizing it. If you cannot look at how you need to subsidize local production, you're killing it. It's just what we are doing to Dangote refinery. You just say, oh, the government should be bringing fuel, largely, so that we buy fuel at 100 naira. At the end, we kill the refinery, and then the country will be back to. That's what we are doing. So if I pick that as an example of what we call economic gains, how many foreign direct investors are coming into the country today now? All of the deals we say we signed, that people are coming. How many of them have we seen? We are in year number 3 of Mr. President. So I don't do propagandas. Let's see it. Roll out.
All right. They say it's
what
not
about
due
the
to
unification of exchange rates?
The unification of exchange said, oh, fantastic. But let me tell you something. Until this government leaves, you will not understand what is happening.
Okay.
I believe that this government is doing.
What he said, he said it's not necessarily going to fix the problem, but somehow to stabilize the economy. And maybe that agenda is
every government.
I'm not putting brief for him anyway.
Everybody talks about that second term.
Fixing the economy.
I'm yet to see any president that performed better in the second term than the first term. Okay. Let me tell you this: every country defends its currency. This government claim they are not defending their currency, but I know largely we are defending the currency. Until this government finally leaves, we won't get to know the things that are happening. Don't also forget, as I conclude, that they have rebased our inflation rate. So the inflation is supposed to even be higher than what it is, but they adjusted it
to make it. What you're telling us now is that we're having some artificial.
There's a lot of propaganda as regards economic performance. That's where I stand on. You can go and check out and check people.
But then, in summary, what's your take about the Nigerian democracy? What do you think? With the progress and the prospects
we have tried, but see, there's a lot to be done, and we must not go back. We must have more voices pulling in the direction of Nigeria than pulling Nigeria down. And all media, all stakeholders must ensure that we don't allow people who have selfish interest to pull down democracy. That's where I stand.
Wow, that's profound. We do not allow people who have selfish interests to pull down our democracy. And don't forget, Mr. Lord Moyoto has been able to tell us that we all hold it a responsibility to the nation to make sure that there is enough political awareness. I mean, political education, so you can do yourself that service, tell the younger folks around you what it means to be civil, and give them enough enlightenment so that they don't just fall for crumbs of bread or just the Dibu Kesebe balance. Well, as we look forward to a better Nigeria, better democracy, better life for the people. Yes, we'll take Mr. Eri, thank you very much for coming today once again. It's always nice having you.
Thank you.
All right, we take another break now. When we return, and today continues. Don't go away.
just the job of the police. It begins with you, right where you live. Whether it's day or night, always stay alert, always stay aware. Lock your doors properly before stepping out. Keep your phones and valuables closed and secure. Protect your home, protect your family, protect your zone. Get to know your neighbors. Together, we can look out for one another. If you notice anything strange, suspicious, or unusual, don't stay quiet. Speak up. Report it immediately. Don't wait until it's too late. Don't ignore the little signs. Remember, one simple call today can prevent a bigger danger tomorrow. So be smart, be safe, stay vigilant. Let's be security conscious, because together we can secure much more. Care of your physical body is good for your mental health and crucial for overall well-being and a high quality of life. It empowers you to live a longer, healthier, and more fulfilling life. Focus on a balanced diet, regular physical activities, sufficient sleep, go for regular checks, protect yourself from preventable diseases, avoid smoking, excessive alcohol consumption, and risky behaviors. Eat healthy, avoid illegal drugs or using prescription drugs in ways other than prescribed. Keep your environment clean, stay hydrated, and connect with other people, as good relationships are important for your mental well-being. Please go to the hospital or consult your doctor if you are not sure of what your body is telling you. Remember that good health is more valuable than material possessions. It is the most precious asset, as it enables you enjoy life, pursue goals, and experience happiness, which wealth alone cannot guarantee. Health is wealth. This message is brought to you by Osrc Television.
Guys, to know you're still with us on AM today, and as we promised that we'll return from that break, would head on straight to our next set of discussion. And with us this morning is Mr. Dotun Ojan. It's nice to have you.
Good morning.
He's a social commentator and a youth advocate as well. It's nice to have you on the show this morning.
It's good to be here.
Yes, so this morning we'll be looking at responsible netizenship, taking into cognizance the Nigeria social media space. You know, it's our focus. And recently, quite a lot of things, you know, are happening in the Nigerian social media space. Some are on the good note, but some are so disheartening. For instance, the good ones. For instance, that boy, Samuel, I think, that was picking waste, who was helped by an influencer, and then his life became better, he's back to school and things like that. Those are good ones. People seeking medical help, you know, those are good ones. Advocacy and all of that. But the bullying, the what else would I call it now, the hate on social media, the false narration,
cloud chasing,
yes, cloud chasing, you know, pushed on social media and all of that, I think is doing more harm to us as a nation than good. And not just happening in Nigeria, or some other climes now, there are regulations. In fact, there are age limits for certain social media platforms like TikTok, for instance. Some countries have legislated no on the age people, you know, should be on TikTok. Even the owner of I think Mark Zuckerberg was invited by the US Assembly to come and talk about, they had a conversation with him regarding some content that
privacy issues,
that they considered inappropriate and has caused some children their lives, or they feel it's not decent for their society. But in the Nigerian space, it seems everything goes. And when the government tries to put some regulation, we cry, we're being clamped down. So let's start from the regulation first. Let's start from there.
Okay, so it's a complicated kind of conversation, but let's pick it one after the other. The social media comes with a false impression that anything can be said without repercussion. But there was a case of Otedola's daughter who was actually who had invited some musicians to Abuja to have a concert, and one of them came back to Lagos and tweeted something, and immediately the lady responded that you will hear from my lawyer. And when the thing was going back and forth, they had to reach an agreement with the lawyer. The guy came out to apologize publicly, and that put that to rest. And the lesson I drew from that, incidentally, you never knew this, I was one of the 6 first Nigerians who took a course on social media in 2011. And that's why from that 2011 till now, I'm a great user of the social media. You see that the direction of my posting has changed, because in Nigeria, there's enough law to deal with any situation on the social media. Enough law. But people are not aware. And it's until you can abuse somebody who says that, oh, you are free in Jesus' name, until you abuse the other person who will not give you freedom until you pay for it. So there are all of these laws that are spread across our books in Nigeria. But again, we must continue to ask ourselves the question, how did we get to this level of toxicity that we see?
Before we get to the level of toxicity, how effective are these laws?
Okay, so the laws in Nigeria are extremely effective.
Okay.
But a lot of people are not aware because they have not dealt with the wrong set of people. In fact, it's when you deal with the wrong set of people that you will know that, oh, I never knew there are laws like this. You cannot bully anybody on the social media, for example. You cannot lie against anybody on the social media. There are laws scattered across our books. It's until you, for example, we're careful, we don't want to mention name. We've seen people, in fact, there's a case of a review of a product on the social media. Somebody picked a product and reviewed it. Yeah. The person is still going in and out of court today. But a lot of people can actually come and say, oh, they are trying to violate our right and all of that. But the truth is that, who made you, you know, once you begin to eat from this restaurant to this restaurant, you call yourself a food reviewer. And you can actually talk down any business. But professionally, you are not qualified because you don't even know the content of this and the composition of some of this product. So there are enough laws, and it's because we are, you know, when maybe as you are coming to the office now, somebody hits you from the back and they prostrate and say, please sir, and you just forgive the person. If you hit me from the back, I may not forgive you. And it is until then that you will know that there are certain laws in the country that actually deal with that aspect of our life. So I think there are enough laws.
Okay, there are enough laws, but in Nigeria it seems the law is selective. You understand? I do not have to be a heavyweight, you know, to enforce certain laws if my rights are being violated.
Okay, so
for instance, somebody who gets bullied online but do not know how to go about it, does she have to wait for someone, you understand, to speak? Shouldn't the law,
system,
you know, yes, shouldn't the system swing into action on her behalf?
Okay, so systems all over the world are activated by people. The fact that the system does not move on its own does not mean that the system is dead. But when you don't have people who activate the system, there would be a general assumption that the system is dead. And what do I mean? There's a conflict between our cultural practice and the way our system should operate. What is the conflict? Our cultural practice lays emphasis on forgiveness, and when you do something to someone, including sensitive matters like rape, we have seen situations, and it's not we. I have seen a situation where growing up in a place called Ibokoda, I have seen a situation where somebody was molested, and they had a family meeting, and the decision of the family is that we should forgive. So there's a conflict between our cultural practice and the need for us to actually make the system work. If somebody offends you, for example, you can't stay in your house and expect police to actually take up the matter. There must be a first step that must be taken. A lot of people never get to take this first step, and because from the beginning they have actually believed that, oh, there's nothing that will come out of it, and that's why it looks selective. But the system is only going to work for people who kickstarts the process. If you do not kickstart the process, nobody is going to meet you in the house and say, oh, see, oh, somebody abused you on the social media, we are going to help you fight for it. And I think that's why it's a matter of our culture, and the complication that has caused to our system cannot be mentioned.
Maybe one of the complications, let me just digress a little. And recently, a law graduate at the University of Ibadan wrote on the security situation of the country. She said concerning this granting amnesty to
bandits and criminals
and like says, you send them to God and let him decide if he's going to forgive or not. Yeah. But let the law, let it take its course here on earth. Then let it be unto God to pardon them, to forgive them or not.
Or not.
That quite explains what you're trying.
So, yeah, unfortunately, you cannot divorce your religious mentality from your government mentality. If you elect somebody into an office and the person is, let's say, your governor or anything, he makes a decision based on his mentality. But the community will have forgotten that the coloration of his religion has a coloration on his mentality, because your formation is the formation of your mentality. What you believe in is a product of how you were brought up. So if we have mistaken in our religious practice that forgiveness means no consequence, then we will continue to raise a set of people that are angry and they cannot express it. Now we are going to the reason why social media is this toxic in our community today. In fact, education is not a scam, but if care is not taken, in my Sunday sermon yesterday, I'd written that Sunday sermon is not church, it's on social media. I have written that one of the things that school has done to us, not for us, is that it has affected some of the important aspects of our life. For example, there's a possibility that you get to school with courage and you leave with timidity. Yes, because for somebody who has compared our education system and what we have abroad, you discover that the school does not grow you to ask questions. For example, the school grows you to align. So a teacher cannot be teaching you now and say, sir, I think you are wrong. That day you will leave that school. But the extent of that is that it has created timidity inside of you. Now, beyond even the issue of timidity, is that you begin to see people that are angry but they are quiet, because the system has taught them never to ask questions. In fact, that's what led to a situation where somebody is molested and she cannot even say it. That's the system. Wow. Now, we don't have a social media. The social media is the first freedom that a lot of people seem to have. What a lot of children cannot tell their parents, they can tell the social media. And they have forgotten that the camera is not a friend to be confided in. So the only thing they've known in their life is that I can't tell my parents this, because our community has conditioned them not to be able to speak up. They cannot get to school and ask questions because the teacher is going to shout them down. So the only space that they have is the social media. So they don't know the limitation of what the community should know through the social media. So the only thing they know, and that's why they ask you, the social media is very psychological. What's on your mind? what's on your mind. And what is on their mind, they cannot tell their brother.
But I want to disagree with you. Today's children, I mean the youth,
They can be
yes,
very inquisitive.
they are very confrontational. At least we've seen
They'll tell you, Daddy, you are wrong.
Yes, we've seen
Okay,
outbursts of students to lecturers. In fact, in your days, who dares question
Of
the
course.
lecturer? How much more of talk back at the person and say all sort of indecent word back at.
Okay, so
an elder.
yes, so you use the word talk back. It should not have been talked back. It's as a result of the fact that there's still an element of cage. That's why I say talk back. It's supposed to be a conversation, a mere conversation. But because the generation before them is in anger, and they were bettered into a process, and they saw the way their mothers were molested, maltreated. So they are angry, and they are looking for every way possible to express that anger. That's why I led to a talk back. And when you continue even to look at the classrooms today, you can begin to count this number of children. They are 17 below. You will still see that a lot of them that are 22, 23, 24, they still have that little bit of constraint in them. And if you begin now to compare, you will see that it's still as a result of what this community has done to them.
You're kind of exonerating this younger generation. Okay, they say they are Gen Zs, right? Exonerating them for their, flippant behaviors and all of that. And because it's their burdens of their actual life. Because I beg to differ from what you said, that it's because they are timid to say no. Because they say more, even physically, than they're saying.
I think that now depends on the upbringing.
Yes, so now I think you are not getting the point.
Okay.
The point we are trying to make is not to exonerate them.
Okay.
It's not to say that they don't speak up. I'm just saying that the first acceptable opportunity they have seems to be the social. Today, if anybody is a parent, I still want to bet with you that at some point you look at them and you tell them to shut up. But they don't have anybody to tell them on the social media. So that's why they quickly rush there to tell the community what is on their mind.
So do we now
beyond
need
the
them
guideline,
to just, go online uncultured, not being guided by any principle? Because you see someone who probably is a teenager talking to an adult with several experiences.
Yes, so
shut up,
So the social media, and this is where we need to be very, very careful.
Okay.
And I see a lot. I had to commend the university, wrote to them because their student came to do internship in my organization, and I saw that the behavior of the kids were totally different from what I've seen before. That tells you that there are a lot of things that are happening. There are a lot of things that are actually happening, and you can find one or two of them that are completely different from the other. Now, what I'm trying to say is that the principle of the social media is that of photography. Photography is a fantastic concept that keeps memory. But if you do not regulate it, overexposure will cause damage to photography. So what we are saying in essence is that beyond, and now there's one other anger that we didn't talk about, and that's the anger towards the government.
Okay.
They have seen that over the years that they have not had a say in the process of their governance, and in fact, where laws are made to include people of younger generation, they see that steps are also taken to frustrate that. What do I mean? There was no too young to rule law that was made to accommodate people that are younger, so that there can be an input of younger mentality into governance process. Do you know what happened? These people also sat back and said, okay, there's a law that accommodates their age mate from to get into government, but government has unconsciously also built blocking stumbling block on their part. What do I mean? To get the nomination form of a political party, no 25-year-old person who does not have somebody sponsoring him can get a nomination form, can afford it. Now, apart from getting nomination form, the process of governance, everybody that is involved, and I mean everybody that is involved, including the media, has made it also tough for an average young Nigerian to be part of governance. What do I mean? If I am to pick this subject as an ordinary citizen, if this is 5,000 naira, immediately I begin to run for office. If I'm to pick this, once the community knows that I'm running for office, this will become 10,000. If I'm to put advert on newspaper or radio or television, once it's political, if ordinarily it's supposed to be 3,000, then it's 10,000 naira. So every aspect of our community has made it impossible for the younger generation to get into governance. So the only thing they can do is that has further complicated their own anger, and the only thing they can do is to get at the government by either abusing the government, by showcasing the failure of the government, by attacking the government. And you know, social media is like NYC camp. You don't bring your age there. If obviously, even if you bring your age, people don't want to know whether this one is experienced, and that's the area of the regulation. But when you now rely on the government they hate to regulate the space for their freedom, there will be constant conflict. So where should the regulation start from? The regulation should start from the home, and this is differentiating what should be public and what should be private. There was an incident that happened.
So sorry, before I want us to look at the intersection now between democracy, which is, you know, supporting the ideology of expression of freedom.
Yes.
Expression of freedom of speech, expression of freedom, and we have taken that to the social media. So now, what can we do to actually recalibrate the mind of the young ones that democracy is not just about expressing yourself without limit, but more of being responsible? How do we recalibrate their mind towards this direction?
Okay, so the concept of leadership, there are two major concepts of leadership, and that's why we have to just take leadership positions. Okay. Not in terms of being in position, but if we do not lead this generation aright, we will not be able to blame them for going wrong. There are two concepts in leadership, paramount concept. There's the concept of directive in leadership. Somebody is sitting here and is giving directive, you come, you go. Then there's the concept of direction in leadership. Somebody wants you to go this far and is going ahead of you and he say, follow me. I think the community needs to show an example of how a proper community should be. And first is by creating believability in the mind of the young ones. One, if your child believes in you, it makes it very easy for you to give directive. If the people of the community believes in the government that, oh, what this government is saying is for the good of all, it will not be difficult to put them online. But there's a disconnect between what we are saying as leaders and what we are doing. So we are putting them in utmost confusion as to, do you want me to follow your step or you want me to follow your words? So I think the first thing to do is to give them direction as to, and once we give direction, you will see that naturally they begin to align. And I must confess to you, or I must say to you, that the decadence that we have today did not start today. Let me use the word. So we must also understand that the process of rebuilding must take a while. In every state that you see, and this is why I say there's a disconnect between what we need and what most often what we do. In every state that you see, and even the federal government of Nigeria, you will see Ministry of Information and Orientation. Every state, including the federal government. But how come information has killed orientation? While what we need the most is actually orientation before information. It tells you that what's more important to us has been neglected by all of us all. So this generation are bettered into a community without orientation. And it's like a community that gives them the freedom to do whatever it is that they do. And if you remember in my opening, I said the social media has created an impression that anything can be said without repercussion. And it's because we have not shown direction and we have not oriented them in the way they should go. And this is not to exonerate anybody from the bad behavior and this thing. But what is social media? You know, they say there's this impression that the social media is complete, is a different world entirely.
Of course, it seems to be.
It seems to be. But the reality is that the social media only takes the coloration of the society where it operates in an amplified manner. So you cannot have a toxic community and not have a toxic social media. Let me start from the government. Enmity in Africa and opposition in Africa is enmity. So if I'm in party A and you are in party B, you are my enemy. And that's why somebody is coming to shoot on the day of election. This is the community we betted these people. They see it. The other day in Idori, you saw the story that emanated. In fact, I had to be moving from one social media to the other, even when I didn't know the source. Because when they get there, they say you are from Ondo State. I like, oh, this does not represent us in Ondo State. But these people saw it. And you don't want them to be toxic. Now, when you get to a religious organization that is also a molder of our character, people are fighting because they want to become deacons and deaconesses. And you see, these young people are not saying it. We've only thought that, oh, the social media is completely different. In fact, when they get to school, they see the obvious crisis in school. And what are the crises? They don't get educated in a conducive environment beyond the fact that there are arguments as to who becomes what. That's already a crisis that we have created. So, and that's why I think we need a systematic approach. And it must start with believability. Let these young ones believe that their parents are working for them. Let them believe that their government is working for them. Let them believe that Nigeria as a country is a great place. Then let us take it a bit further. Let's educate them in a conducive environment. Don't let their lecturers bully them.
Okay, let's look at it this way, the social media and the cancel culture. You know, for instance, we mentioned the case of, there was a rape case, or alleged rape case, you know, where a girl pretended to have been raped, and she cried online, and people took it up, and the campaign began, and some celebrities, you know, went overboard to make sure that they lent their voice to the crisis, you know, calling for heavier sanctions on rapists and all of that. And before you could one could actually get the grasp of what was happening, it generated to personal attacks and all of that. Before you know it, in fact, Simi, that is Kosoko, the Adekunle Gold's wife, before you know it, people were reporting her pages, pages, and old tweets were coming up, and before you know it, her listenership on Spotify began to drop and things like that. People, you know, and all of that. That's just one out of the many. Even over the weekend, we had another one. You know, the Nigerian social media space is highly toxic, and this, as you said, is a reflection of our society. But then, what about this idea of thinking you can pull another down? You know, through the social media, you bully people for their weight, and the next thing you hear is the person is gone, and all of that. Is that also a way of expressing what they've not been able to say in the physical?
Okay, so I think it's just, you have just repeated exactly what I said in a different dimension. It's taking on the color of our character. Now, there was a place that, and this is a sad reality, there was an organization that came to Nigeria and was paying people 100 naira. It was paying in hard currency. So we just take, they were paying people 100 naira. And I've seen one or two situations like that. And they were paying them 100 naira until they employed a COO who happened to be a Nigerian. And the CEO got there and said, is this what you are paying people 100 naira for? This shouldn't be more than 20 naira. And that's how they went. So people, and I have seen, the more you travel within our work environment, the more you understand some of these things. They just took it a bit higher in reality. But again, you can also talk about lies, because the social media has made lies marketable and perhaps truth unbelievable in some certain cases. And also, because the rape case that you talked about, actually at the end of the day, we got to know that it was actually false. And it's also a culture. Asha had said something years back in one of our lyrics, that who is responsible for what we teach our children? Is it the internet or the stars on television? Now, there's another culture of I want to blow that is prevalent in the community. And a lot of people will not like this analysis. I did a 2-year research into the culture. How did we get to this culture of I want to blow? Then I began to ask people, if you blow now, how will the community know that you blow? And what they said was very, very simple. And I will try to tone this down so that people are not offended. So what will be the thing? And they said, okay, most of the answers we got had to do with, oh, I will buy one certain kind of vehicle.
Yeah.
I will get a driver. I'll get a policeman to escort me, and perhaps get a policeman as an escort in the front. About 70% of people who responded that way. Now, if you look at the people that have blown already, quote unquote, you see that this is the lifestyle they live. Now, if you look at celebrity pastors, you will see that this is almost the lifestyle they live. Where did they get the lifestyle? Everybody wants to live like the man in government. Everybody. So if today the man in government, and I mean people in government, today decide to say, let's tone this down and live in a certain kind of way, your community will also respond to that. Now, people will now come on social media because they want to blow. They do a whole lot of things. And it's a way of escaping from survivor. Now, the
orientation inspired by
it's an orientation that, oh, I love the way you put it. Because the truth is that when you begin to have money in the real sense of it, if you really work for the money, there are some attitude in you that will naturally drop without you knowing. Because a man who has not made it is trying to prove to the community that I don't arrive. But the man who actually worked to get all of these things, there are some things you will not see from some of the people that I don't want to mention on air. Why? Because they labored every minute, every hour. I was doing a meeting with one of them, and he was dozing off. And I was trying to talk. The PA was telling me to just keep talking, that he will remind him what I said. The truth is that this man in the last 25 years has only been sleeping 4 hours every day. In the last 24 hours, that man is not coming to prove to you that he has arrived. So I think it's a communal mentality. And again, I need to sound this note of warning, that this is not to exonerate anyhowness on the social media. In fact, why there's multiplication of anyhowness is because of the fact that the community still allows it, in the sense that when somebody lies against you, you leave it in the hand of God. And I've said it before, if somebody hits your vehicle, if a commercial driver hits your vehicle and you say go in peace, he's going to hit another vehicle tomorrow. But if a commercial vehicle hits your vehicle and you compel him, it's not even him, you compel him to make use of the insurance to repair your vehicle, and you know he cannot park your vehicle and be using his own to work. No, you park in my vehicle in the insurance house, repairing it, you park your own at the police station. So when I take my own out from the insurance house, you take your own from the police station, there's a configuration that has happened to your brain. And the toxicity again is a product of our communal mentality. But again, people will not want to agree that what they have on social media is a replay of the real life that we find ourselves. But the truth is that it's a replay.
Because of our time, I want us to also look at the social media platform owners, providers, as well as the developers. You know, they came up with this concept of monetization. Though well-meaning, but to some extent, we cannot deny the negative effect. And that has, you know, provoked and increased the level of the fake news, people trying to get
viewership,
just to get rewarded for your content. So who should, in what way do you think we can actually place sanctions on these social media platform providers or the developers?
Okay, so
can government come in and prevail, even if we have to cancel the concept of monetization or to be reviewed, so that it will stop reflecting our society in a bad way?
Okay, so when consequence is more than reward, you will have a rethink before you post anyhow. There's nothing that can be done about monetization because there are people who are genuinely, for instance, there are newspapers, I don't want to mention their name, that are purely online. In fact, they are trying to be so professional, they'll put it that you can donate for them, but of course it's another way of sustaining them and their organization and their staff. So there are credible organizations, there are media organizations and credible other non-governmental organizations that actually survive on that. There's nothing that can be done. We are the ones as a people that must lay emphasis. And you see, the good side of social media also
little filtering content
Okay.
before getting rewarded. If it's not in line with the guideline of the developers and that of the society, it will not be accepted.
Okay, so we can talk about that one, because the same way they talk about copyright, we can also talk about lies. You understand? So it's something that I was in a country,
technology, deep fake, and
yes,
using the AI to misrepresent people's identity
and all of those things. Yes, I think yes, it can, and I think it makes sense. I was in a country, I cannot remember. Then I was trying to do a text. I was trying to text, and the thing kept bouncing back. So I was sending the text to my friend in Nigeria here, and you know, guys, the way we relate, we can already open or something like that. So I didn't know that I'd included a word that the country does not allow. So it kept bouncing back to me. So what's happening? I checked, everything was okay and all of that. So my friend there was now telling me that no, some of those words cannot go. So you can't use some certain word in some certain countries, it can't go. So
it's also for our country to do their bit.
Yes, but beyond doing your bit, because I also do not want you to demarket yourself. I'm talking about government. I also don't want the government to demarket itself by trying to regulate the social media. This is what I mean. You know, when people hate their government, every law coming out of the government looks like a witch hunt. And when people don't trust their government, every enactment looks like a punishment. And that's why till today, people are still protesting against the new electoral act. And when you look at it objectively, you will see that it's a big improvement from where we're actually coming from. It's a big improvement. But because people just think that, oh, the intent of government cannot be right as a product of what happened in 2023. And that's why one agency of government will do something, and it can have a reputational damage on the entire government. So I think the government should work more on the engagement of the citizen. If we work more on the engagement of the citizen, you will see that this way citizens see one another will also be different.
But government should work towards national interest, not interest
not
of the
individual
people.
interest.
Or individual interest. Let me put it out.
It's just like you having a child. You understand?
Yes.
You know that this child is asking for this thing, and if you give to the child, it could harm the child at that particular time.
Of that child
yes.
is not really
Okay, so interest and emotion are not the same thing. Okay. Now, in democracy, what you call national interest is the interest of the people. In another government, you can define it elsewhere. But democracy says that anything that will be done as policy program and law of government must resonate with the people. Because the concept of democracy put the people at the center. And that's why you must continue. That's why democracy is a government of conversation and engagement. So the interest of the people at the end of the day in democracy is the interest of the nation. Having said that, it must be made very clear that social media has had some positive impact on our communal living. And I love the way you've highlighted a lot of them. But beyond that, it's also because the most important unit of our life is our government.
All right. As a youth advocate, let me say, by way of your parting shot, what would you advise the youth there? They say the internet does not forget. And some people go out there, put things that are not supposed to be, or misrepresent other people, malign their character, their image, and things like that. What would you have to say to the youth population who form the largest group, you know, chunk of people online? What do you have to say to them about responsible use of the social media?
So I would say that they should not allow survivor to deny them an opportunity to succeed. And what do I mean? When you are nobody, it's easy to abuse everybody. But the truth is that somehow that thing, you saw what happened to Simi, is waiting for you. While we were getting trained in the art of public communication and all of that, the first rule we got then was to avoid the camera. So when the camera is coming, we turn. And because they say that you don't know how far the footage will travel, you can be here and your footage has traveled. That's exactly what happened. When somebody asks you on the social media, what is on your mind, you must know that it is not a private community. So anything you cannot put on the billboard and be proud of, please don't put it on the social media. And we must continue to engage these people. We must continue to tell them that the internet, there was this story of somebody who wanted a job in the bank. Real life story. Who sat down, but Organo, do you tweet this thing about this same bank that you are looking for? Where you are looking for a job. So it's just, it doesn't forget, and we must be responsible. And they must, sometimes, sorry, you may be angry, but employ what they call tact. That is my ability to make my point without making an enemy.
All right. Thank you very much. I think the tact is what the young people actually need to learn, you know, how to be tactic in expressing their grievances, their discontent, and all of that. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Dr. John, for coming on the show.
It's a pleasure to
be here. From Alex.
Okay, that's where we draw the curtain this morning. It has been a very interesting moment. Next week we'll return with another exciting edition. Until then, remember, it's a new month. Get something doing, get it right, and get better. Alex Adejo is my name. I'll see you next week. Goodbye.
All right, I'll leave you with this. On your way up, remember that things you do not want to be seen or heard about you when you get to the top, you don't do it on your way up. My name is Folashade Ogidon saying, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.